Hi, my name is Dean Brown. I am the designer of Spruance Leader series game coming out by DBG, hopefully kickstarting in the fall. I wanted to show a submarine encounter. So I had this submarine patrol encounter, activity level high, which means I have 4 unknown submarines that I placed per my starting range. Some of these have negative placement modifiers, so I had one here, 2 here, and 1 here, for a total of 4 unknown subs. I have 4 ships in my task force: Spruance class destroyer and my Ticonderoga class cruiser here. So my destroyer and cruiser. And then I have an old Belknap class cruiser. It's my command ship, which lets my commander have 1 additional action, and then I have an Ox class frigate. So one thing that my Spruance class destroyer does have is an SH-3 helicopter, and he currently has some Sonoboys and Mark 46 torpedoes that he can drop. So he can detect submarines multiple ways. One is he can use his dipping active sonar when he's hovering over a particular cell, or he could do magnetic anomaly detection, which means he flies over a cell. He can attempt to mad detect. That lets him try to detect multiple submarines at a time, and plus he can move and detect. So I have my sequence here, my summary sequence of play, and then there's several actions that my ships can take, including detection and attack. And then I have my helicopter actions that I could take: launch detection, mad detection, weapon attack, drop Sonoboy, or jam enemy ships, which I'm not using it for that. And then my commander has several actions. So I have Commander Ewan, who can move the task force, can redeploy my task force, or he can give a ship action that's once per battle turn, and then some coordinated missile defense. All right. So I have 5 turns to eliminate the subs. I don't know what they are, so I'm going to start. And my screening force is fast, which means that they act before the enemy ships do. And then my main force is slow, which means that they act after the force enemy submarines do. So I'm going to use my 1 action here for the my Spruance class to launch the helicopter. Helicopter actions are slow, but I do have a commander that can give actions out. I guess I need to update that just for ship or helicopter acts. So I'm going to use one of my commander actions to move my helicopter. So he gets 4 actions. So I'm just going to move 1, 2, 3, and then take off, launch. So that was an action. So he used his 4 actions here. My Tycho, unfortunately, my Thorn and my Spruance and my Ticonderoga can only detect out to range 4. All the subs are at range 5 or 6, so can't really do anything yet. One option, I could have pulled in, moved my task force closer and pulled in the subs, but since I have a helicopter, I want to keep them out of range. They can't detect me until range 4, and I have 5 turns, so I'm going to keep them out of range. All right. So enemy movement, roll a 1, so they're just all patrolling. They don't move. they can't detect. So I guess they are not really going to do anything. So now I'm on my slow action forces. Again, these are all out of range. My Starret and my Knox class frigate, both of them can only detect out to range 3, which means they're not in range, but I do have a slow turn for my helicopter. So we'll go out 1, 2. I'm going to attempt to detect, do my dipping sonar, and I rolled a 4, which is a detection. Yeah. Alright, so detect 1. Still have 1 action left. I do, when I detect something, I flip it over. So there's a 1 to 2 neutral, 3 to 8 enemy, 9 plus nothing. Roll a 1. So it's a neutral ship. Neutral sub. Okay, so that means that all subs in the area, so it's harder to detect, always -1, and I have a -2 attack on it. So I just have to be careful around him. Basically, that's how that works. I have one more action, so I'm going to drop a sonobuoy here, anticipating that they're going to move up. Alright, so that's the end of one battle turn. Alright, so now I have my 2 ships here. They're fast, but these are still way out of range, so I am going to use an action, my fast action, to move closer. So it means my task force moved closer. I pulled these in, they're still out of range. Alright, so I'm going to stop there. Roll a 4 for enemy movement. So that's a +2. I gotta make this bigger. +1, -1. That's a -2. So +1, 4, 5. So that's a range -1. So this one moves in here. So he is in range. Detection range. So I draw a random chit from my cup. My screening force has 3 chits each for position 1 and position 2, and my main force has 2 chits in position 3 and 4. I drew 1. So I rolled a 10, which means he detected my ship at range detection level 2. So I'm going to roll another die, and I rolled a 2. So he's a neutral. Alright, so let's just assume he rolled a 3. And Foxtrot. Let's see here. So he's Foxtrot, enemy sub 1. He can only attack at range 2. Which means, even though he detected my Spruance destroyer, the Thorn, they can't attack. I guess this one did stay there, didn't it? Alright. That's the end of his turn. Now on my slow turns. So using a hex with a sonobuoy, that failed. So I am going to attempt to dip. and detect him. So 5 minus 1 because of the neutral is 4. So I did detect. Did detect him at level 1. So that was one action. Alright, let's drop torpedo. And I rolled a 9, which is a hit. And the Foxtrot only can sustain 1 hit. So he's destroyed. Goes back in there. So neutral sub is still there. All right. Still have 2 unknown subs. So I am going to pull them in closer. Oh, I moved my sonoboy, didn't I? It's still there. So I'm going to use my last action. So now they're at range 4. I still can't detect them with these ships. Let's see, I used 2. Use detect. Nope. Detect 5. And I rolled an 8. Nothing, so he's off. Alright, that's the end of that turn. I still have 1 unknown sub at range 4. And now it's my fast screening ship's turn, screening force. So I'm going to try to detect him. I rolled a 10. And I rolled a 7, which means that that is an enemy. So let me put him back. And it's a kilo. So he can't attack at range 4. So he's potentially dangerous. So I do have, but he is in range of my ASROCs for my Tycho. And he only has a hull hit of 1. I have a +1 here on my attack, so I have to roll a 5 or higher. And I rolled an 8, so he's sunk. 2 ASROCs are gone. Alright, so that cleared the board. That was using my helicopter and my ships. Went fairly well. Luckily I got 2 diesel subs. The next one would have been a Sierra. He can attempt to detect 2 of my ships. And he can attack at range 3. So he would have been a little bit tougher. So I did luck out on the draws. You can see there's some other ones. Victor, another Sierra, Alpha. So right. So I did destroy 2 diesel subs. One of them was neutral. One of them was biological, I guess. And that's the end of the encounter. Trust me, not all of them go that easily, but I did want to show how you can use a helicopter to do ASW operations to detect and destroy enemy submarines. Obviously, if I would have had some surface ships out here with the subs, then using the helicopter is very risky, because if the surface ships detect the helicopter, they're going to fire missiles at it. So I was lucky here that I had all submarines. All right, that's the end of the encounter. Thanks a lot. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to leave them. Thank you. Bye.